would like to call to order the June 15th, 2020 Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners regular meeting. Welcome, everyone. It's good to have everyone with us tonight in yet another of our virtual online meetings. I wanted to mention up front, as we have 3 public hearings scheduled during our regular business tonight, some of the methods by which folks can participate in those public hearings, and also during our public comment section, which is a part of each of our regular meetings. We have 3 different options available to folks. We have cameras set up in our normal meeting chambers at the Governmental Center on Church Street. Folks have the ability to go there and deliver their comments live during our meeting if they wish. A second way is to call in and make your comments over the telephone, which can also be live during the meeting. That number that you call is 704-920-2023. And the PIN number that you will enter once you call that number is 1234. So that number again is 704-920-2023. And then a third way is you can email your comments in. If you email your name, address, and telephone number to publiccomment@cabarruscounty.us. That's publiccomment@cabarruscounty.us. Those emails will go to our clerk, and if we receive those prior to the opening of the public hearing, she will read those comments that you email in. And in addition to that, that's 3 different ways. And then a fourth way is that for 24 hours following the close of the public hearing, you also have an opportunity to make comments up until that 24-hour limit after the public meeting. And so the motions that we would make to approve anything as a result of those public hearings would be subject to the extension of the 24-hour time period. And if any additional comments are made during that time, they would be taken into consideration before that action would be finalized. So that's 4 different ways that you have to participate in those public hearings. I think you can probably also find that information on our website as the same information that I just read out to you. Also, you could call the county manager's office, which is currently manned, and they could assist you with that as well. So and now that we've got that behind us, welcome everybody. And the first item on our agenda tonight is the approval or correction of the minutes. You all have copies of that before you. So at this time, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Shue and a second by Commissioner Kiger to approve the minutes as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. That motion passes, and we move now to the approval of the agenda, which you all have a copy of that before you as well, including changes on page 57. So at this time, do I hear a motion to approve the meeting agenda, including the changes on page 57?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Honeycutt and a second by Commissioner Shue. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. And we move now to recognitions and presentations. We are happy to have with us tonight Byron Hagler from Active Living in Parks. And Byron will talk with us about Park and Recreation Month. Welcome, Byron.
Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you for allowing the time to propose the July Park and Recreation Month proclamation. Recognizing July as Park and Recreation Month, and July seems more fitting than ever, with parks and open spaces being sought out, and would like to share a few statistics of how Cabarrus County facilities and staff have been utilized. As you can imagine, park attendance is up across the board. To give you a more site-specific example, Rob Wallace Park in April almost doubled from the previous year, and in May has almost tripled from the previous year. Staff's virtual presence expanded during these unprecedented times, reaching over 120,000 with programs that include Nature's Corner, Monday Motivation, Wellness Wednesday Wisdom, Fitness Friday, and Senior Center activities and information. If you haven't checked these out, please do so. The July theme for Parks and Recreation Month is We Are Parks and Recreation. And I believe the Active Living and Parks Department staff have showcased that what they are made of and how versatile they can be. The proclamation reads, whereas Parks, Recreation, and Senior Center programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including Cabarrus County, and whereas Parks, Recreation, and Senior Centers are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and a region, and whereas Parks, Recreation, and Senior Center programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens, and whereas Parks, Recreation, and Senior Center programs increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas Parks, Recreation, and Senior Center areas are fundamental to environmental well-being of our community, and whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to the development, produce habitat for wildlife, and whereas the U.S. House of Representatives have designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas Cabarrus County recognizes the benefits derived from parks, recreation, resources, and senior centers. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim July 2020 as Parks and Recreation Month. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Byron. We appreciate you delivering that proclamation to us. Now, do I hear a motion at this time that we adopt the proclamation as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Kiger, a second, I think that was Commissioner Poole. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Thank you. And we move now to our informal public comment section. And at this time, I will call on our clerk, Lauren Linker, to see if we have received any email public comments or if there is anyone waiting on the phone line or in the chambers.
No, sir, there was no video meetings prior. There's no one on the phone. There were no written comments, and there is no one in the chambers currently.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, given that we have no one present for
I'm sorry, this is Debbie. Lauren, we just had someone call in. We have a McCullough on the line. Would you like to make a public comment?
Yes,
Could you please state your name and your address?
my name is Norman John McCullough. I'm at 2315 Montfort Avenue, Concord, North Carolina, 28027.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. McCullough, welcome. Please go ahead and make your comments.
Yes, I'm currently working with the mayor of Concord regarding apartments that will be refurbished and installed in the Coleman Mill. I'm calling specifically with regard to what's happening in our country, and with regard to the budget, I see a number of things listed, which is great. Everything is great at the library and new high school and various other items. And I'm wondering at this time whether there can be some provision for young people in the community. I'm speaking specifically of Concord, but there may be other areas, specifically of working with African American males. African-American males, as you know from the broadcast all over the place, are suffering from the legacy of 400 years of mistreatment. So I'm hopeful that there can be some consideration to these comments. I am a specialist when it comes to instruction. I worked at the RCCC as a history instructor. So I'm very familiar with our legacy as a country, and I'm also a teacher. So if some provision could be made in terms of money for these young people, especially African American males, I know you can't discriminate, but you know, the focus would be on African American males as to what could be done in terms of training and various aspects to give them an opportunity here in North Carolina. So I think I've said enough. I think my point is made, and hopefully you as the leaders of this county will take this into consideration. Money specifically for the young people, African American males, and others who could benefit. And I'm so happy that we got 152 new low-income apartments coming up in the Coleman Mill. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. McCullough. We appreciate you calling in for those comments. At this time, are there other persons waiting for informal public comment? Okay, hearing none, we will move now to our consent agenda. As I say each meeting, all of the items on our consent agenda are items that we have discussed at length during our work session meeting, which was held 2 weeks ago. And they are typically of a routine nature. Do I hear a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Kiger, a second by Commissioner Shue to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. All opposed, please say no. That motion passes. Thank you. And we move now to new business. In our new business, we do have 3 public hearings, and the instructions that I gave at the beginning of the meeting do pertain. I will point out that due to new state-required public hearing procedures, the public will have an additional 24 hours to submit comments to public comment at cabarruscounty.gov. And so the first item on our agenda is the adoption of the fiscal year 21 Cabarrus County budget. And we do have a public hearing for that. Just to kind of recap, that budget was presented at our work session 2 weeks ago. Since that time, we have had 2 workshops that have been televised and available to the public as well. One of those was on June 2nd and the other on June 4th. We have also had a seminar open to the public as well on 2 other days that allowed folks to sign up for and go through a budget workshop. I participated in one of those days, and we had an excellent group of folks that were interested enough to spend the time to learn more about our budget. And so this does call for a public hearing. So at this point, I will open the public hearing regarding our fiscal year 21 Cabarrus County budget. And at this time, I will call on our clerk for any comments that may have been emailed in, or if anybody is waiting on the phone or present in the chambers.
I got no prior video meetings. I had no written comments, and there's no one in the chambers. And there is no one on the phone at the moment either.
Okay. Very well. Seeing no one present for public comment, we will close the public hearing and move to action. And so at this point, I will entertain a motion regarding our fiscal year 21 budget.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we adopt the 2021 budget as presented.
Thank you, sir. And of course, that motion would include that it would go into effect after the required 24-hour period with any additional comments reviewed. So do I hear a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, that was a motion by Commissioner Chu, a second by Commissioner Honeycutt. And I'll now open the floor for discussion.
Real quick, Mr. Chairman, we need to make sure that you include that last minute change to the budget ordinance. And Rodney Harris, he's able to explain what that was so that you can include that in your motion as well.
Okay, we'll turn the floor over to Rodney at this point.
Yeah, and that was just one technical adjustment, and it's reflected in the budget ordinance before you. We had an FTE position for the school resource officer related to Hickory Ridge Elementary School that we needed to make sure was authorized for FY21.
Great. Do you accept that amendment, Commissioner Chu?
Yes, I do, and I just failed to mention that. I figured Rodney would talk about it at some point, though. So yes.
All right. Okay, great. And do you approve of that, Commissioner Honeycutt? I think that was your second.
I do, yes.
Okay, great. Okay, is there additional discussion on the budget before we move to a vote?
No, I would just say I had a few questions this week, but got my answers, so I'm all good.
Right. Well, it is an extensive document that has a lot of detail for anybody that may be interested. I think and of course that budget is available online. It is also available copies at the governmental center. But there's a great deal of information in that budget, in addition to the financial actions of the county. And I think most folks would find that very interesting. Details our leading property owners, our leading taxpayers, talks about our industry, and gives a good explanation of our tax base and where those funds are derived from. So I would encourage everyone to spend a little time looking at that. And so if there is no additional discussion, we will move to a vote. So at this time, all in favor of the motion to approve the fiscal year 21 budget with the discussed amendments, please say aye. Okay, all opposed, please say no.
No.
Okay, I think that if I counted that vote correctly, that is 4 in favor and 1 opposed. So that motion passes. Okay, next item on our agenda is the approval of, well, first we have a public hearing regarding our fiscal year 21 economic development allocation. That is the allocation that the county makes to our Economic Development Corporation. That is included in the budget that we just approved. The state law requires us to also hold a public hearing for that as well. So at this time, I will open the public hearing for the discussion of our fiscal year 21 economic development allocation. And I will call on our clerk, Lauren Linker, to report on anyone who may be waiting by any method to make a comment during this public hearing.
Again, I had no video meetings prior to the public hearing. I had no written comments prior. There is no one currently in the chamber, and there is no one new on the phone.
Okay, very good. We thank you.
Yes, sir.
So at this point, do I hear a motion that pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 158-7.1, after conducting the public hearing, that we approve the county's allocation for fiscal year 21 to the Cabarrus Economic Development Corporation?
So moved.
Mr. Chairman, do you need to close the public hearing first?
That's a very good point, Commissioner Shue. Thank you. So I will close the public hearing at this point, with there being no one on the phone, on email, nor in the chambers. And now we will move to that motion, which I think was made by Commissioner Honeycutt.
Second.
Approve. We have a second from Commissioner Kiger. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. That motion passes unanimously. And we move now to our third public hearing of the evening, and this is from Department of Human Services, our Transportation 5310 Elderly and Handicapped Grant. This, of course, as is true with all of our public hearings, has been advertised by a number of different methods. Just to give a brief summary, the City of Concord is the designated recipient of the federal 5310 Elderly and Handicapped Grant. By the City of Concord, the total grant amount requested is $377,128. These funds will be used for transportation of the elderly and handicapped individuals within the urban boundaries of Cabarrus County. There is a 50% match of $188,564. The match will be made up of $144,012 from the HCCBG Home Care Community Block Grant and $87,395 from the ROAP, which is the Rural Operating Assistance Program, and $42,843 from the County General Fund. And so at this time, I will open the public hearing to receive comments regarding approval of this federal 5310 grant, and we'll call on our clerk for a report as to any emails, telephone calls, or persons present to comment.
Again, for this one, I did not receive any video meetings prior or written comments. There's no one in the chamber and there's no one on the phone.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there being no one available to or interested in commenting on this, I will close the public hearing at this time. And commissioners, what would be your pleasure regarding this matter?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move for approval.
Okay, and that would be a motion to accept the grant made now, but to go into effect after the required 24-hour period with any additional comments being reviewed. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, that motion by Commissioner Shue, seconded by Commissioner Honeycutt. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. That motion passes. We move now to reports. And first up is updates from commission members who serve as liaisons to municipalities or on various boards or committees. So I'll open the floor for those comments at this time.
I have nothing additional to report. I had sent a week or two ago some slides from the CVB, and then Donna presented last week. That's the most recent report that I have.
Great, thank you. Anybody else?
Nothing from me, Mr. Chair.
Okay, well, at this time, I will open up the floor for general comments by board members. I will we'll mention a couple things. I mean, certainly there have been a lot of things going on in our community and all communities over the past number of weeks, and we're still in the midst of our coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic, and just wanted to make a few comments about that. One of those most particularly is encouraging the public to wear face masks. We have seen much publicity about that over the past 3 months. I think at one point in time there was a picture that was circulated with myself along with all of our municipal mayors with our face mask on, encouraging people to wear those face masks, and that is more important now than ever. And I was involved in 2 conference calls today with our public health authority, the Cabarrus Health Alliance. We were looking over the numbers for Cabarrus County, and we're going in the wrong direction. The number of positive cases continue to increase in Cabarrus County. I think we had an additional death in the county today. And a lot of folks are, kind of feel like, I mean, we've been through this so long that I think people have such a strong desire to return to some semblance of normalcy that they're anxious to get out, and in some cases are taking some unnecessary risks that are causing those numbers to go up. So most folks say, well, the reason that the number of positive cases have increased over the past couple of weeks is because the number of tests have increased. Well, I was somewhat interested to find out that according to the folks at the Cabarrus Health Alliance, over the past 4 weeks, the number of tests in Cabarrus County have been consistent week to week, approximately 1,000 tests per week. And even though we've had the same number of tests, the percentage of those tests coming back positive have increased each of the last 2 weeks. There's some thought that 2 weeks ago was, I think that was the Memorial Day holiday, which was one of the first weekends that some of the restrictions were relaxed, and folks got out more than they had been previously. And that may be the explanation that we've seen that increase in positive cases. We're watching that extremely carefully, and we'll see over the next week if that trend continues. Then we will need to have some discussions about additional actions that we may be able to take to reverse that trend and to get it going the other direction. So wearing a face mask, according to our officials at the Health Alliance, and also I've heard from our administrators at Atrium Cabarrus, they have emphasized that is one of the most important things that we can do as individuals to slow down the spread of this virus and to cause those numbers to begin to go in the right direction. So I would strongly encourage everyone, when you're going to be in any situation where you're not able to practice social distancing, if you're going in a store where you can't control how close in many instances you may get to someone, please wear that face mask. It can make a huge difference, and hopefully we'll see those numbers go in the right direction, and we'll be able to continue to get our economy going again and get folks back to some sense of normalcy, even if it's a new normal. But that is one thing that is a very easy thing that we can all do, that according to the professionals who I trust, knowing much more about that sort of thing than I do, to make a positive impact. So are there other comments from the board?
Yeah, I'd like to make one.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to give a shout out to Charlotte Motor Speedway. They hosted the graduation ceremonies Friday and Saturday. They are available on YouTube for people to watch. In this time when lots of graduations have been done in different ways, this one was phenomenal. Using the Speedway with the big screen TV, like a drive-in movie theater, and then students crossing the start and finish line to get their diploma. I think those students, everybody was kind of worried about it to begin with, but once they went through the motions and got to see the experience of driving on the track, I think a lot of families were very happy with the outcome. So a shout out to Charlotte Motor Speedway, being in Cabarrus County and working with Cabarrus County schools to make that happen for all of those graduates. It is definitely a graduation to remember. And I would encourage you, if you guys have not seen one of the videos, to go to YouTube and pull them up and watch any of them. It was an interesting event. So they do a lot for Cabarrus County. It's obviously one of our biggest industries here is Charlotte Motor Speedway, and that was just very special for them to do that for our seniors.
Great. Thank you for those comments. And we are very blessed in Cabarrus County to have good corporate citizens that step up and help out in situations like this, and I'm sure that certainly is a memorable graduation for all of those students in a very different way. I think for some of them it might be more memorable maybe than some of us that graduated in a more traditional fashion. So are there any other comments from the board? Okay, hearing none, we do not have need of a closed session tonight. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We stand adjourned. I would like to thank our television audience for joining us tonight. I hope everyone goes about their life safely until we meet again. So thank you very much, and we stand adjourned.